Hey there, my little shadows. It's me again with another little episode of my band series. Yes, my band series. The series where I tell you all my stories about how in the world I managed to get banned from either this establishment or that establishment. Now, I'm going to be completely frank with you all about this one. I kind of more or less brought this entire banning thing on my own self. I mean, not like there was anything really crazy going on where I was at, but if anything, though, I do know for a full on fact that I messed up in more ways than one with this one. Not exactly sure why I did some of the things that I did, but I did it, and I'm. Don't know if I should feel sorry for what I did. Probably don't, and I really don't give a shit. I'm a sociopath anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's talk about Subway. Subway is one of those kind of places that, to me personally, I used to enjoy. I mean, especially as a kid. Now, you might be a little bit confused and scratching your chins, probably wondering, wait a minute, wait a second, you actually liked Subway as a kid? It's nothing but vegetables and meat and other things like that. How the heck could you have enjoyed that? Well, if you've ever lived with my grandparents, you would know that the main thing that we ever get with a sandwich is a cheese sandwich. I'm not joking when I say that. It was literally like a slice or two of cheese on white bread with either mustard or mayonnaise and cut into a triangle, and that was all you got. So yeah, I lived my entire life on those kind of sandwiches, quote unquote. No meat, no nothing, just cheese and bread. I mean, if it was grilled, it probably would have been a lot better. But unfortunately for me, though, my grandparents were cheapskates who didn't give too much of a fucking shit about what we gotten to eat. So ultimately, I don't know. Subway was the one kind of place that more or less opened me up to the possibilities of the sandwich varieties and other crap like that when it comes to sandwiches. And I remember going there pretty much for the first time in a while. Well, actually, the first time in my entire life. And I think I got the meatball marinara once. That one was honestly quite good. I actually piled that thing up with so many vegetables. I'm talking spinach, I'm talking jalapenos, a little bit of like mustard, I think, and a bunch of other crazy stuff. If you honestly were to see what I put on my sandwiches at Subway, you'd probably puke. Like no, you wouldn't just puke. You would projectile puke. You'd be projectile puking that would make the freaking Exorcist go to shame if you saw the sandwiches that I sat there and made at Subway. In fact, it wouldn't shock or surprise me if the employee, after seeing my sandwich and everything, didn't go off to the back bathroom and throw a freaking lunch up. But I digress a little bit here on that one. Subway was one of those places that I enjoyed a lot. Now, it's unfortunately been quite some time since I've been there, and for obvious reasons, which I'm about to explain. But honestly, though, really looking at how the new commercials are and everything, I don't think I even want to go back there. They've literally taken their menu and everything and made everything so freaking disgusting, unhealthy, and just downright nasty to the point where I don't even want to step foot in there, even though I am banned. They couldn't pay me to sit there and go back into that Subway restaurant. I refuse to associate myself with there, especially after the Jared Fogle incident. Fuck that guy entirely. But yeah, it was interesting. I guess more along the lines of how I got banned from Subway kind of started off rather simply. I was in my room sitting there doing a bunch of other weird stuff, basically sitting there playing on my computer, because I don't think at the time I had my YouTube channel. So I was sitting there and just enjoying my time because I had a computer that my mom had gotten me for my birthday, I think my 15th birthday, I think. And I'm just sitting there typing away and everything, enjoying my time, enjoying my life. And I get hungry. And, that's the weird thing about it. I got hungry for some reason. And I really wasn't in the mood for what was ever in the fridge and not definitely not in the pantry. But honestly, the idea of going to Subway for some reason just sounded good. I mean, this is before I think they sat there and put yoga mats in their freaking bread, or was it the other way around? They use bread in their yoga mats. I don't freaking know, to be honest. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying my little bit of time and everything, and I decide, you know what, why not? Let's go over there. And so I get my wallet and everything, and get my little pet otter named Otter Steve, and I plop him on my shoulder and everything, and he's like yipping and everything because he's hungry. And, I take him to Subway every so often and everything. Unfortunately, rest in peace because I think I killed him. Anyway, so I'm going there. I get my wallet, count my cash. I got like at least about $1.3 thousand in my wallet ready to spend. And so I go, I put it in my pocket, and I go over into the living room and tell my parents, who are in the process of dancing to, well, I don't know, dancing to like some kind of Rihanna song or something, which really made me want to fucking puke my guts out at that point in time. So I just look at them and I say, I'm going to Subway, and they say, okay. And so after we do that, and after I do that, I literally burst down the freaking door. I don't know why I did that, because we had to spend like almost at least a few $100 buying a new one. But I kick the door down and it falls down the stairs and shatters on impact, because it was a solid glass crystal door that probably cost more than, well, our entire house that we were living in at the time. Anyway, so with that being said and done, I go down the stairs by jumping on my head repeatedly. Shockingly enough, I didn't get brain damage while doing that, and my little otter just sits there and follows me all the way down the stairs as well. Thankfully, he's okay for the time being. So I decide, and I get in my car. I have my permits, but honestly, my little otter honestly has a license, so he's able to guide me and everything. So no issue with that. And I decide, and I turn on my car, and I go, and I make my way all the way over towards the subway. Now, thankfully, though, there wasn't that much traffic, so I didn't really need to worry too much about what was going on at that period of time. It was relatively simple, just driving all the way over there. Unfortunately, though, whenever I got there, it was in the right. Here's the thing about the subway that I was going to in my own town. There was two of them. There was one subway that was literally its own building, which is a rarity when it comes to that kind of thing. And there was another one that was connected to this old, greasy, diarrhea-infested gas station that was literally attached to it. Now, the only reason why I didn't go to the building, because I think the building was under renovation, so I had to go to the doo-doo gas station to get my food. Probably would have lost my appetite right then and there had I really thought about that for a little bit. But then again, I'll eat pretty much anything. In Yeah, I'll pretty much eat anything that's given to me. So, me and my little otter friend and everything, we finally pull up to this nasty gas station, and my car literally runs over a ton of innocent people because my driving skills are less than impeccable. So I get out of my car and everything, and I'm like looking down. There's like a dead guy literally underneath the roof, underneath the freaking tires of my car. And so I'd be like, I don't care. And I step on his head, and it causes it to like splatter his brains all over the place. And I'm just walking there, and I scrape my feet and everything on the concrete to get that brain matter off my feet. And my otter is like really hungry at this point, so he starts nibbling a little bit on the brain. But I grab him, I put him on my shoulder, and I take him to the subway because no need to sit there and waste your appetite on human brains. So yeah. Anyway, so I go into it, and I realize one thing, that the door was completely sealed off with super glue. Not sure why, but it was. But the place was open. So that meant I had to sit there and actually walk into that nasty, disgusting, cockroach ridden gas station that connected to it, and had to walk to the side entrance of it. And so before I actually go in there, I go to my car, I pop open the trunk, and I get my gas mask on, for me and my little otter friend, and we go and we start making our way over there. When I say that the place was disgusting, it truly was nasty. Like, I'm not joking here, people. All jokes aside, it was relatively gross. There was like literally spots all over the place. I think there was actually a couple of, poop stains or something. And if memory serves me right, I think there was actually a couple of logs of, well, human fecal matter rolling in the little roller things that, you get those little, tortilla things. Forgot what they're called. But yeah, literally rolling in there getting cooked. And let me tell you, oh god, that day I think I puked up enough to feed an entire army. Specifically for Osama bin Laden, because that's probably who I'd give that stuff to. Anyway, so I'm walking in, like me and him are walking in there, and everyone's just sitting there doing their stupid stuff. Like one person's sitting there and smoking whatever it is. Another person's blowing bubbles, and one person's doing the Macarena in the middle of the freaking store, and one person's taking a flamethrower and burning down somebody. I don't know who it was, but their cries of help told me that it was definitely a human being. Now, I would have gone and done something about it, but if you know anything about charbroiling humans, you know that you don't ever want to sit there and leave them undercooked. So I pretty much left the guy to do whatever the fuck he wanted to do. And I'm walking and everything, and I finally get to the side entrance. Only problem though is that it's one giant opening. Like it looks like somebody punched a giant freaking hole into the Subway restaurant itself. And begin to go and, check out the place a little bit. Now, I don't know how and I don't know why, for example, I don't know why, but whenever I walked in there, I actually managed to take my mask off and it didn't smell bad at all. Like that disgusting, rotten, vomit filled scent that was usually lingering in the freaking gas station, it was nowhere in that subway. It was practically impeccable. It looked like angels themselves had constructed the place. I didn't know exactly why it smelled so good, due to the fact of the matter that like the horrible scents and everything would have easily outweighed the scent of the bread and everything that was cooking. But then again, though, I think there was like some kind of army ninja of small little micro ninjas or something that blocked the doorway, so any kind of scent or whatever that came in there, it would get their butts kicked. But I don't know. That's just a theory, I guess. Me and my little otter friend were just looking at each other, wondering, okay, that's something, I guess. And so we have to sit there and wait in this long, long line. That's another problem. Well, at least it never was a problem with me, for example. Having to sit there and wait in a long line for Subway. But I think it's a lot more grueling and messed up knowing the fact of the matter that you have to wait because that sandwich takes a little bit to get made. I mean, it's not like impossibly long, but it does take a while. And so I'm standing next to this one person or whatever, and he looks like, well, I don't know what to say. He looks like Jared Fogle before he lost the weight. Like, he was a fat Jared Fogle kind of guy. And I'm just looking at this guy, and for some reason, the instant amount of hatred literally fills my entire head. I don't know why it does, but I guess it's probably reminiscing about what actually happened with Jared Fogle and the incident that regarded him and Subway and everything that happened recently, I think. And I get relatively pissed off, so much to the point where I actually load up an entire punch and I punch the guy straight in the back. The guy immediately crumbles down to the ground, and I'm expecting him to get up and, punch the shit out of me and my otter, but he doesn't. Instead, he writhes around on the floor and starts doing the worm for some odd reason. Apparently, when I punched the guy, or at least the one he told me, I had finally managed to break him from a specific curse that had caused him to be a specific human, and now he could finally live his life as an earthworm, for some reason. And this was unfortunately proven due to the fact that he literally started boring himself into the earth itself, crunching himself into the freaking concrete and everything, and burrowing himself deep and deep and deep into the Earth's crust. Yeah, that was definitely a sight to behold. Anyway, so I managed to get over the hole and everything, and after about 35.8 minutes, I finally managed to get myself to where I need to get at, and that is specifically the line. And so I'm going up to this, this old, baggy, witch-looking woman, and she says to me, "Hello, sir, what would you like?" And her voice is really annoying, like freaking more annoying than what I just put out right there. Like I'm literally having to cover my ears because the very sound of her voice is like somebody going into my eardrums after using a shrink ray on themselves, crawling into my ear canal with a small little cheese grater and literally grating into my freaking ear and eardrum at a slow pace until there's nothing else left but blood and juices pouring out of my eardrum. That's how bad it truly was. And I'm like, "Oh my god, you sound horrible." And the woman, like, she looks at me and she gives me this evil smile, like she's ready to kill me or something. And the next thing I know, she immediately goes up to me and starts dancing on top of the oven that sits there and, I don't know, like apparently makes the bread or something and starts cackling like a freaking witch. Me, I'm looking at her and I look around and nobody's really reacting at all to what she's doing. Not even the employees are doing much of anything. And I'm like pretty pissed off, so I go over like this mop bucket or something that's full of clean water, and I go up to it, I grab it, and then with one swift throw, I throw all that water on her. And then she pauses for a moment. She just pauses and she looks at me. And then she screams, like, "Oh!" And then she starts melting. Like, I'm not joking. She literally starts melting into goo. Like, she's like, "I'm melting, what a..." And she dies like that. Like, she just evaporates into nothing. It seems to me that I managed to stumble across the third gate of hell, I guess, in the form of a subway. Who knew? Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at down at that in extreme amount of confusion. And my otter at this point is dying laughing. And then another guy is like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck? Why are you yelling at me?" "Shut the fuck up and order your goddamn sandwich, bitch." I mean, I'm just stunned. Like, this guy is like a really nasty little monster. So he's like, "What's the sandwich?" And I'm like, "I'll take meatball marinara, please." "What cheese?" Um, I don't know. What do you suggest? "Shut up and order your fucking cheese." And I'm like, "Dude, shut up." "No, you shut up. Here's your cheese." And it's like, okay. And then he just immediately starts taking a bunch of cheese and crumbling it up in his fist and slamming it down on my sandwich. And I realized something that I had completely forgotten to order my usual bread, which is whole wheat bread, because I'm a yeah, no, I'm kidding. I didn't get whole wheat. I actually got like Italian herbs and cheeses. I'm like, can I get Italian herbs and cheeses? And the guy just like shoots up at me. He's like, "No!" And then he takes a sandwich, breaks it in half, and throws it. He jumps on the thing and smashes it in my face, saying, "You're an idiot sandwich now, bitch." And then he sits back down and goes and grabs another like foot-long loaf of Italian herbs and cheese and stuff. Or was it Italian herbs and spices? I don't really know. And I'm just sitting there, and me and my otter are just like smothered in this bread and cheese. It's getting in my hair, and it's getting in his little fur and everything, and he's obviously upset. And nobody fucks with my little otter friend. So I take the pieces of bread and I throw it down to the ground. I stomp on it repeatedly for some reason. And then I look over to the guy, and I give him this death glare. Like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, rip your arms off, and toast you in that oven of yours. Like, I threatened the guy via looking at him, and he obviously didn't care. He, took my sandwich, put on the cheese on it, which I guess was like pepper jack or something, and then he starts scooping out the meatballs. Now, here's the funny thing about the meatballs. The meatballs themselves look relatively normal, but they look like the Dollar Tree kind of meatballs. It wasn't look like it was homemade or even like frozen or anything. It was just Dollar Tree meatballs. And he just splatters them all over the place, so much to the point where the entire front counter and even the vegetables get covered with marinara sauce. And then he looks at me and says, "You want a toasted?" And I'm like, "Dude, I can't understand a single word that you're saying. Elaborate, please." "Do you want it toasted?" And I'm like, "Oh, you want me to get it toasted? Yeah, sure, why not?" And it's like, okay. And then he takes it and he slams the sandwich in there with the speed of a fucking gazelle, slams the thing in there, and then immediately bashes the number thing that times the whole thing with the fucking hammer. And for some reason, it does its job. It toasts my food. And he takes the sandwich out and everything and slams it back down on the marinara soaked counter. And he's like, "What vegetable do you want?" And I'm getting sick and tired of this. I can't understand what this fucker is saying. And more importantly, I'm sitting there disgusted because of the fact of the possible cross contaminations and everything. Most likely, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know anything about food that's going on right there. And I'm just getting pissed at this point. And I told him I want freaking jalapenos, spinach, and, a bunch of other vegetables. Now, here's the thing when I make my sandwiches at Subway. They are disgusting. I remember one time ordering a meatball marinara, and I think I put like spinach, cilantro, peppers, pickles, more jalapenos, tomatoes, a lot of lettuce, iceberg specifically, and a bunch of other leafy greens because I was trying to be healthy at the time, which I knew I really wasn't. And if anything, people, if you ever see the sandwiches I make at Subway, you're most likely gonna puke. Like, you're gonna puke so much that you might as well you're gonna be like projectile vomiting so much that you're gonna make The Exorcist look like nothing. You're gonna make the Exorcist puke and everything seem like it's nothing. But even then, though, even with that all being said, it's actually kind of funny. I actually remember this one time I went to Subway and I ordered a meatball marinara and I asked, "Are all the same things?" Like this woman had the most disgusted face on her. Of course, I wound up, getting my sandwich in the end. But for her, I think she literally ran to the back bathroom and puked her guts out until she died. I think she died. There was an ambulance afterwards. But getting back to this motherfucker who's sitting there making my sandwich, he's like slamming all the things on there. He's not even wearing gloves, which is disgusting. Like, really disgusting. And he's like sitting there and like he's jamming his pimple covered fingers. I didn't even know that fingers could even get pimples. Like, that's how fucking shocked I was. And it's getting all the juice and everything's getting on the sandwich. And he finally gets it and he slices it. And he somehow manages to slice off some of his fingers. Yet he doesn't scream, he doesn't cry out in pain, he just sits there and keeps making my sandwich as it usually did. And then he takes it and, he shoves it to me after he's done bagging. He's like, "That'll be $5,000. I'm like, "Wait, excuse me now? That'll be $5,000. This guy was literally trying to charge me 5 fucking grand for a goddamn sandwich. And seeing the blood and everything, seeing everything that was going on, and just seeing the utmost smug, messed up piece of crap look that was on his face, I had had enough of that son of a bitch. Me and my otter friend, we decided to pretty much make a little bit of a pact here, and we both jumped over that counter like the speed of freaking Speedy Gonzalez or something, and I take that guy and I start punching the living hell out of him. I mean, he's old too, so he's able to, be broken down and everything. And then I go in, I grab like a meat hammer or something, I start pounding the guy until he's nice and tender. And then for some reason, I reach in my back pocket, and my otter friend, and it's not there, but my otter friend gives me a shrink ray, and I shrink this guy so much to the point where he finally manages to fit perfectly on a sandwich bun. I take him, I put him on the freaking $5 footlong thing, I smother him with cheese and everything, and I go and I toast that man, and I toast him up until he's nice and toasty. He doesn't even scream. Like, this guy's like the most pain intolerant kind of person I have ever met in my entire life. But he's sitting there getting toasted and everything, and everyone's looking at me like, "Ooh, what's this?" And I pull the guy out and everything, and I slap him on there, and he's probably dead at this point. And I sit there and I just, take like a bunch of lettuce and throw it on him. I grab a bunch of tomato, throw it on the poor guy, and I start smothering him in like sweet onion teriyaki chick sauce. And I cut it in half and everything, and then everyone's like for some reason cheering or something, because apparently he was the biggest dick out there in the world. And we all each have a piece for some reason. Like, I cut up the parts and I throw it at people, and they actually eat it like rabid of zombies. So, yeah, and of course I wound up making my own sandwich after that. But let me tell you one thing right here and right now. What happened after that was really, really messed up. The manager wound up bursting out of his office saying, "What the fuck is going on here?" And he literally looks at me, and it turns out that, and is like shocked that I immediately, shrunk his employee, toasted him, and cut him up into pieces, and then and fed him to everyone. And the next thing I know, this guy is so shocked, he jumps into a meat grinder that, for some reason there, and grinds himself up into meat. Like literal ground beef. I mean, I didn't think that humans could look like that when they got ground up. I mean, I thought there'd be like pieces of, I don't know, clothing and things. But none of that. It was just pure ground beef. Apparently the guy was ground beef or something. And next thing I know, the ground beef immediately forms a mouth, a cartoony mouth and eyeballs, and he looks at me and then throws a piece of paper at my face and then throws another one at my otter's face. And apparently we were both banned from Subway for cannibalism, and more importantly, sitting there and killing a bunch of people and turning the manager into meat. And basically, we wind up getting thrown out of that place. But that wasn't much of an issue, because apparently somebody had managed to burn the place down by pissing all over the place. Apparently the place wasn't flame retardant enough. Anyway, that was how me and my little otter friend managed to get, banned from Subway. Now, luckily for my little otter friend, he didn't get banned from any other place because he's so freaking cute and adorable that everyone would literally throw free cookies at him just to sit there and make him do his little cute squeal and everything. Me, unfortunately, that probably marks, I think, the 6th or 7th restaurant that I've been banned from so far. And let me tell you, it was fun, but I kind of deserved it. I mean, I did cut the employee in half after shrinking him up and everything, and then finally eating him. Not exactly the best thing in the world, but the manager whole thing with with him being turned to ground beef was not my fault. Then again, maybe it probably was. I really don't know. Anyway, though, that was my own little story for you guys. I honestly hope you all enjoyed it. Um, yeah, and thank you guys for listening. I mean, if anything, this one was crazy, but yeah, it happened, and it was not really a fun period of time in my life. Thankfully, though, my otter friend was doing quite well. Even then, though, if you guys enjoyed the story of mine, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think I should sit there and make a next band series on, because I probably was banned from that place anyway. Let me know what you guys think of it. And I'm the Shadow Reader. Thanks again for watching today's episode. And like always, roll the outro.